Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Nez Porter at you. Today, I'm just going to show you something that I do on my spare time when I'm not doing many other things. So somebody brought me a regular heater. Told me to check it out, see what's wrong with it. They told me it was no good. I took a look at it. I found out that it was just a damaged plug. So the end of the plug was kind of frayed and broken. And so I cut that piece off. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to splice it. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can go to Home Depot and buy a plug and add it on there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make the cord a little bit longer. So this is what we have. We got the piece of cord there and a piece of cord here. And typically you want to line them up the same way. But there is a negative and positive on these, even though on alternating current it doesn't really make a difference. But on the end, the bigger side is the neutral and the smaller side is the positive. So if you was to straighten out this cord based on that, the positive will be the white labeling. So if I come all the way back here, on the other end, I know my positive side is the side with the white labeling on the cable itself. So if I want to keep the polarities the same, let's see, we can just cut this down the middle, just like that. Kind of give yourself a little space, kind of spread it out a little bit, and do the same thing on the other side. Assuming that it works off the same idea, I'm going to assume that the one with the white labeling is the positive. Now, if you're not too sure, you can always check the original outlet that came off and do a continuity test and find out which one's which. So now we got it kind of spliced out on both sides here, just like so. Now you can get a knife, you can get a wire strippers, something to skin this wire off. So I'm gonna skin it off about, let's say 2 inches, about right there. Don't want to skin off a whole lot, just enough to so you can see the casing come off. Sometimes you gotta be gentle with it because you want to cut into the wire. Copper wire, like solid, is a little easier to do. Stranded, let me see, do it this way. Here we go. Now you take all these and kind of braid them together, twist them together, just like that. And do the same thing on all four sides. Just gonna get the same about the same, kind of pierce the casing just a little bit. And sometimes if you don't have a sharp enough, hold on, I don't want to cut into it either. Usually I can cut it with a razor knife too. The other side I'll show you with a razor knife. It's a little easy if you do it with a razor knife. Here we go on the other side. Oops. I'm not even cutting into it. That's the problem. There we go. I'm trying to be a little timid because I'm trying not to strip any of the conductors away. If I do that, I gotta resplice the wire all over again. Now the other side, I'm gonna do it with a razor knife. Sometimes this is a little bit less confusing. You just kind of give a little slit all the way around the whole wire with the razor knife, and then you come back with your tool. Well, don't want to squeeze it too tight. Here we go. Pop it off like that. So it all depends on your preference and how you want to do it. Want to twist all these up nice and tight here. Got one more to do. Let's do the same thing with the razor knife again over here. Now, typically, you're not supposed to extend the wires on a heater because a number of reasons. They design them for that length only. I'm giving a little bit extra on it so you don't have to fight with the cords and everything. I don't recommend doing it, but as long as you don't overload the circuit is the most important thing. I think these cutters need a little sharpening, to be honest with you. These cutters been through the mill. Here we go. The cutters are not, if they're not sharp, they don't really do the job the right way either. So I'm going to twist all this up here. I noticed that this wire is a little bit thinner than the actual wire that I'm using on the cord. It's a little, maybe a gauge smaller, which does make a difference. This is mostly for demonstration purposes. And this heater is not going to be used for a long period of time. But if you look at this, one gauge looks a little bit smaller than the other gauge. So this is probably like I'll say maybe a 18. And this is probably a, well, you know what? That could be 18. I think that's about 18. And this could be 12. Not too sure. No, I don't know. Maybe this is 14 and that's 18. But there's a difference in the gauge. So what I'm doing here is a splice that you probably don't see too often. It's called the Western Union splice. So I'm going to grab my two conductors on the positive side, which would be the two lettering sides right here. And I'm going to... Now, if you was using shrink wrap, this would be the time to put your shrink wrap over the wire. Because after this point, you probably can't get it on there. So I got these two here. Make sure I got the right polarities here. I'm going to start about at the bottom, right about there. Cross one way, one the other way. And just keep twisting, twisting, twisting until there's nothing left. Now, that's one side there. And this side the same way. Twist. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm not looking through the camera. Twist, twist, twist. Keep twisting until there's nothing left. Now, some people call this the Western Union, which it is. It's technically the Western Union short. They do have a Western Union long, which allows more open twist in the middle. So this is one of my most favorite, how you say it, splices. Some people call this the NSA splice, which it is if you actually solder it. I'm not using shrink wrap. I'm going to use just electrical tape. Shrink wrap, electrical tape. It's all a matter of preference. So I'm going to start my tape a little bit beyond the actual splice. So I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to wrap it nice. And now sometimes you want to go over it at least twice. They give you the right coverage on there. Go now when you get to the end, make sure you go over the wire at least twice, because you want to pass the actual point where the wire comes and meets the copper. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna come back around it one more time just to make sure I got some good coverage here. And come back the same way I just went. And just about there. Now, one more. That looks pretty good. That's just one side. That's enough coverage. Now this is the second side of the Western Union. Same principle. Make sure your wires are. This is stranded wires, so you want to try to twine all these wires as a unit. Same thing. You're gonna kind of cross it right about there. Uh, kind of get the feel for it. You kind of pick and choose where you want to go. You want to have enough wire that you're going to roll down to about the end of it. So some people give themselves a lot more wire, and when they get to the end, they just cut it off. You can do that too. It doesn't matter. Um, I like to just kind of judge how much wire I need and do it like this because you kind of eyeball it. It's not 100%, but now if you was to going to solder this would be the time you put your flux, little flux on it, kind of just brushing it nice and thin. Heat up the wire, throw some solder on it. That's this kind of splice is a very strong splice, and they call it Western Union because back in the day when they had telegraphs, the Western Union used to use these kind of splices to splice their telegraph wire. I believe that's the story behind it. Not 100% sure, but I believe that's what happened. How they got that name, Western Union, and they did a lot of inline splicing like this. Sometimes the cables would break for various different reasons, and you had to fix it. Downtime was, very critical. So the faster you can get it back up and running, the better it's going to work and everything. So people just come out and splice it and get it going. All right, so here we did the same thing. I'm gonna come back again. Wrap this all the way through. Now, once you do this, you can wrap these both units wires as a unit. So I'm gonna stop that one. I have these now. I still have a space in there. I'm gonna wrap this all as one unit now. It's been a while since I've done these, but all you want to do is just keep this from separating. You could do telephone wire the same principle. You could do pretty much any wire you could think of like this. Now, when you have cables, it's different. Cables is not easy to do it like this. You have to do a different method with cable. But anything that you can manage, you can pretty much splice a wire the same exact way. Like I said, this is one of many ways of connecting wires. I figure I'd do it this way just to show you guys um, how a Western Union is done. Now I just got it all wrapped up like this. The cord it's not a long cord. I would say it's more a little bit. I'll say, if I was to measure this, I'd say it's about 8.5 feet long, which is not too bad, and it's gonna serve its purpose. Now, if I want to plug it in, let me see if I can get a local outlet where I can plug this in to show you how it would come on. I gotta find an outlet that's close by. Let's see. So it's on. Let's see, where's the power button? I think this is the power button. Is that the power button? One of these is the power button. That's the power button. So as you see, it's working. Um, that's low, I guess. That's high. Well, there's different stages, I guess. Here we go. Well, it is working. Giving out heat. So here we have a, you know, somebody that said it wasn't working to fixing it. It was a low budget fix. I didn't have to buy any parts. I already had a cord hanging around. Now a head will probably cost you $3-4, which is not a whole lot, but got good heat. It's working fine. Job well done. All right, guys. Until next time. Nez Porter. Catch you on the next one.